How to sell for sale by owner in Florida. Hey folks, my name is Chris at Hauseit, based here in Miami, Florida. Today we're going to talk about this question that many sellers often ask, especially if they're trying to sell for the first time. They learn about the enormous costs associated with traditional broker commissions, usually 6% of the sale price paid at closing. And oftentimes that's split 50-50 if the buyer has an agent. Otherwise, the seller's agent keeps all 6%. Needless to say, regardless of which state you're in, this 6% traditional broker commission is typically the largest closing cost, single closing cost that sellers will face. So how can you sell successfully for sale by owner in Florida? Well, for sale by owner is not a unique concept to Florida, New York, or any other state. It really works pretty much the same way. And first we'll go over the traditional for sale by owner process, and then we'll also explain why that's not very effective and how you can do better if you do wish to do it yourself through a Hauseit agent assisted FSBO listing. So let's get started. Well, first of all, if you want to successfully sell for sale by owner, you want to make sure that you have professional photos to start with. Now, this may seem self-evident, but given what we see in the for sale by owner listings you'll find, for example, on Craigslist or Zillow, when people click and just post on a single site by themselves, you often find that the photos are, almost never professional in nature. They're often taken by the seller's cell phone camera. Sometimes it's even, as bad as a flip phone camera. So it really, the quality varies, and, very often, there's no consideration to lighting, different exposures or such, or any sort of staging or decluttering. And, oftentimes the photos are quite dark or maybe grainy or even tilted. There's just lots and lots of issues that we see versus, if you take a look at some of Hauseit's professional photos, and we'll put some before and after photos out here as well. You'll see that we use triple exposure. So this way, when you take a photo, we use 3 different exposures so you can see, if there's a window in the picture, you can see clearly the outside view. It's bright as well as the interior. So you really get best of, all worlds in terms of exposures. We always digitally retouch and enhance our photos and such. And we can do with some virtual staging as well, get rid of anything that might need to be decluttered digitally. So there's things we can do that a professional photography team can, and that's something we highly recommend, even if you insist on doing it yourself completely, and just essentially doing the digital equivalent of sticking a yard sign, for sale yard sign out on your yard. You should at the very least, make sure you have the best professional photos possible. And that may cost a few $100s, with an outside firm, depending on who you source with. Of course, you can order through a Hauseit as well for a very competitive rate. The next topic we'll talk about is pricing. So, as a for sale by owner seller, you're already disadvantaged versus other listings on the market, which are, quote unquote on market. And because you're selling for sale by owner, you're quote unquote off market because your listing is not in the MLS, which only brokers can list in. And, because 75% to 90% of all home buyers are represented by an agent, depending on the market, you're not going to be ultimately engaging with all of these buyers brokers because you're not offering any commission contractually in the local MLS. So you're kind of off market. So, because you are off market, pricing is very important. A lot of traditional for sale by owner sellers make the mistake of, trying to list way too high. And so not only are they off market, they're not getting full exposure. They're also at the same time, like way overpriced versus competitors. So, even the few buyers that are looking directly, and many of them are vulture investors or predatory buyers who specifically scour, for sale by owners sites, or, sort by for sale by owner listings specifically to prey on, more naive sellers like this. And, it's quite dangerous just because what will happen is, obviously it's overpriced, so you're already not getting enough exposure. Buyers aren't really seeing it, and the few buyers who do see it will usually avoid the listing and not even bother reaching out. There's A lot of sellers think, well, I'll list it high and give myself room to negotiate, and if buyers like it, they'll put in an offer, even if it's lower, and we can negotiate from there. Well, that's a flawed assumption, because that assumes buyers have infinite time and ability to reach out on every single possible listing. In reality, what happens is buyers see a listing that's priced too high, and they'll think, the seller's probably unrealistic, and they move on. They don't bother to spend time, because their time is valuable. They don't bother to spend time to negotiate with a lowball offer usually, and see if you're wildly reasonable beyond their expectations and meets you somewhere more reasonable. So that's definitely a mistake to make. So you definitely want to be, if you're going to do that traditional for sale by owner route, at least price it competitively or slightly underprice your competitors, since you're saving on the commission, ideally. So this way, at least it'll grab some more attention. Another mistake to avoid is to not have your home listed on the MLS. So this goes into the alternative that we talk about, which is you really want to make sure your property is fully marketed if you're trying to do it yourself. And most for sale by owner sellers in Florida, for example, they'll just post it on one or two random third-party sites, like for example Zillow. You can list for sale by owner, or they'll pop it on Craigslist, take a few cell phone photos, and hope that works. That's a serious mistake, just because if you compare it to what professional real estate agents do, sellers agents, they'll list it on the MLS plus hundreds of third-party websites, pretty much every website that's relevant. And what usually happens is when a listing agent puts the listing on the MLS will then automatically syndicate, or distribute the listing to hundreds of third-party websites. So all relevant websites: Realtor.com, Zillow, StreetEasy in New York, Trulia, Homes.com, Realtor.com. Any of these sites, it automatically gets distributed to throughout the upload process through the MLS usually. And yeah, so you'll get complete exposure versus, for sale by owner, you're kind of, okay, well, let me find one specific website, Zillow or Craigslist, and let me manually upload onto that website. And, it's not the same, right? Not only are you not in the MLS, properly engaging buyers, brokers, you're also, on one website or two versus 200, for example. So what we recommend, if you do want to do it yourself and want to save on the broker commission, is to do it right. Make sure you list on the MLS, and you can do that without having to pay 6% through Hauseit's agent-assisted FSBO listing service, where you can pay a flat fee up front. It varies. It's as low as under $100 in South Florida, and starting at $4.99 in New York, in the New York City market. So it really depends on the region, but you pay a small flat fee up front, and your property gets listed by Hauseit and your relevant local MLS. So for example, in South Florida, it would be the Southeast Florida MLS, also known as the Miami MLS. And then it gets automatically syndicated to all industry standard websites like we talked about. And then our team, we have email filtering rules that are on the back end that automatically pass on inquiries to you if it has a similar address to yours that we pre-program when your listing is uploaded. We have call centers that are 24/7 overseas based, and we also have human assistants, virtual assistants, that'll check during business hours to make sure the filters are capturing everything. If anything, say less than 1% of inquiries aren't caught by the filters and automatically passed on to you, then they will manually forward those to you during business hours. And once you receive those inquiries, it's up to you to take it from there, just like a traditional for sale by owner listing. You can call, text, email the inquirer directly. And the beautiful thing about this is, because your listing is in the MLS, we automatically co-broke or offer commission to buyers, brokers on your behalf. Because it's in the MLS, the offer of commission is automatically contractual with all other MLS members. So buyers agents don't need to worry about being interdicted, intercepted, or losing their client. Remember that buyers agents typically don't even have any sort of exclusivity with their clients, so of course they don't want to send it to a for sale by owner listing and just get looped out automatically without any protection. Because it's an MLS, they won't be afraid to show the listing. So yeah, those are, I would say, three of the most important points to keep in mind. There are, of course, other advice and things you can do. So check out our blogs. Leave us a comment below if you have any other further questions or comments as well. My name is Chris at Hauseit. We cover all of New York City, all 5 boroughs, Long Island, the Hudson Valley, and in Southeast Florida. We're based in Miami-Dade County. We also cover Broward, Palm Beach, Martin, and St. Lucie counties as well. We can help you save all 6% with our agent-assisted FSBO listing service. And of course, if you're buying, we can help you save 2% or more with our Hauseit Buyer Closing Credit Program, where we give you 2/3 of the buyer broker commission, subject to our team keeping a minimum of 1% as of this writing. My name is Chris at Hauseit, and we'll see you on the next one.